Yo, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be covering the update 2.20 highlights that were finally posted by Plarium, so we officially know what changes are coming to Champions. We know a little bit more about the artifact crafting. We're going to dive into everything individually and get you everything you need to know, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, first things first, in honor of the exciting news, I'm going to be doing a gem giveaway. All you got to do is be a subscriber to my channel and leave a comment down below. That's it, and you are entered to win 540 gems, and we're gonna pick 5 winners. Now I'm gonna pick the winners tomorrow on stream, about 24 hours from me launching this video. So literally all you gotta do, be a subscriber, leave a comment, and you are entered. I will reply to the comments that win. I'll pick them randomly on stream with a comment generator. I'll reply. They will have 24 hours to contact me, and I will get their information to Plarium, and they will get their gems. So hope you guys have fun with that, and let's dive into these patch notes. Let me pull this up right here, and I've got this placed a little bit weird so that it's not in the way when I talk about champions. So let's just go through here and dive into this together. All right, so greeting Raiders, time has come to reveal update 2.20 has in store. Okay, first off, the Forge and the Decay. So okay, so it looks like we're gonna be getting different there's 4 different resources in this. And okay, this feature will be unlocked for players at level 30 and above. Okay, level 30, you can get there pretty quick, typically within the first 1 to 2 weeks for most players that are active, which is when the artifact forge becomes accessible. Tapping on it will bring up the forge UI, where you can craft artifacts from specific sets by sending resources called materials and then silver. Okay, so then they've got the Magisteel, Soulstone, Bloodstone, and Core Hammers. So looks like you're going to be getting this mostly from Arena, Faction Wars, and then the Core Hammer legendary stuff is going to be another incentive layer placed into tournaments. Okay, so tournaments and events will award various materials as well. Keep in mind the maximum number of Magisteel, Soulstone, Core Hammers that any player is 10,000 each. Okay, that seems fair. It's probably a lot. Anything goes over the limit will be lost. Once you have the material stored, you can begin crafting the artifacts. Okay, so we've got to get into these balance changes, so I don't want to go too far in depth and talk about this for 10 minutes. But yeah, super cool. It's going to be exciting to be crafting stuff finally, and I can't wait to dive in and go over this mechanic in the game, because you've got the charms and the glyphs and the materials, more stuff to dive into in terms of building gear and crafting it, and we can finally get to those platinum sets if you're not somebody who's able to get to platinum. Plus the 2 sets that are going live, the new ones that you see here, the resilience and perception, the 10% HP, 10% defense, and then also the accuracy plus 40 and the speed plus 5. Those sets should both be very good in the game. Then we've got, okay, advanced quest as well. I think that'll be another good addition to the game. It's another opportunity. Hey, any opportunity where players can earn books, we're all for it. You get the XP, the chicken, and the books by doing advanced quests in games. Some of them are static and do not refresh until they're done. Others will need to be completed within the first 24 hours. Challenges will focus on things not yet covered, like new mechanics, obviously. The Tag Arena, the Faction Wars, and the Doom Tower when that goes live in probably about 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. And here we go. Sorry guys, I'm kind of skimming through that, but I will link to this post if you want to take more time and go through that. I'm just super excited to get into these champion balance changes. So first up is going to be Roto. So okay, so on the A1, the Terror Scourge, which is this ability here, they're going to be lowering the chance of granting an extra turn. You'll see here in game, 30% chance of granting an extra turn right there. It's going to be nerfed to 25. Then Vitality Plunder is going to have the damage slightly decreased. And then Faded Destruction, this is what makes Rotos insane. So let's see what we got here. We'll ignore 60% of defense instead of 75. That is a significant nerf. That stays. Enemies killed by the skill cannot be revived if this champion has max HP from the Vitality Plunder skill. Okay, so you're gonna have to do the Vitality Plunder first to get the XP to make the Faded Destruction block revive if you want that. If you just want the kill and you're not worried about blocking the revive, you don't have to do the Vitality Plunder first. But if you're going up against Arbiters and Siffies and Duchess and things like that, yeah, that's a significant nerf. grants an extra turn still if it kills an enemy. So, okay. That is a big nerf to Rotos. He's not going to hit near as hard on either one of his big abilities. He's got less of a chance to snowball. And if you want to block the revive, you can't just do that inherently. You're going to have to do the Vitality Plunder first. And your only chance of getting an extra turn is if you have the Relentless set, which is 18% chance. Yeah, it's a big nerf. Oof. We're going to have to see how that is in game, but yeah, that definitely changes Rotos a lot. Then for Siphi the Lost Bride, Whirlwind Romance is going to be, the turn meters are going to be filled by 10% instead of 15, and then everything else stays the same except for the inherent cooldown goes from 5 to 6, okay? And then the Eternal Bond passive is going to be healing each ally by 10% instead of the 15 that you see here. Okay. Siphi is still really good. This one is better done than the Rotos one, I think. The Rotos one is a little bit drastic, in my opinion, but Siphi is still going to be pretty good. I don't think these changes are going to destroy her or anything. Then for Arbiter, we've got Destiny's Call fixed a bug that had Arbiter filling her team's turn meter by 30% instead of 20%. So it looks like that's just a bug fix there. Then for Duchess, we've got Shroud of Souls. The only thing being changed on her is Shroud of Souls from a cooldown of 5 inherently that you can book to 4. It will now be a cooldown of 6 that you can book to 5, I'm assuming. They don't say anything about changing the books available. So, yeah, gonna hurt for certain clan boss compositions for sure that you've got tuned as a 4-3 with Duchess, a hyper speed Duchess, and a clan boss team. But in terms of the arena, she'll still be very good. Definitely a nerf to her, though. Then for Saris, we've got the only change being Midnight Ritual, which is remove. Okay, the only change is it's going to be 2 turns instead of 3 turns. Saris is completely unaffected. She's still by far and away the best epic in the game for the arena. So this change really doesn't do anything to affect that. Interesting decision on that. Obviously, it's a nerf, but what makes her amazing is the AoE buff strip and then decreasing the defense and the attack. I think they should have removed one or the other. It should either be AoE buff strip that places one or the other. Decreased attack or decreased defense. Obviously, decreased defense would be the better, the more powerful one in my opinion, but if you've got multiple Saris built, don't feel bad. This is basically completely unchanged for Saris. Then for Coronar, the only change is going to be to the A1, which is the AoE that decreases turn meter by 10%. You can see here they're going to be changing that to 5%. I thought Coronar was in an okay place, definitely strong and really good in lots of different situations. I didn't think he was like broken. Maybe they think he's going to be too good in the Doom Tower or something, so they're changing this proactively. But yeah, that is the only change to Coronar, is nerfing this AoE A1 from the 10% on the turn meter to 5%. Then for Blind Seer, we've got a change to Dark Shroud here, and it looks like all they're doing is clarifying. So the shield that she places is going to be equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. It used to not clarify that for us, so at least that's going to be in the skill tip there. Then we've got the self-sacrifice. It looks like they're going to be removing this champion will receive damage to equal 25% of max HP, and it will happen even if it kills this champion. So good changes. And then the cooldown on self-sacrifice inherently is going to go from a natural 7 to a natural 6. Okay, so we can get that to a 5-turn cooldown on the revive and the block damage. Okay. Definitely a buff to Blind Seer. I don't think this is gonna make her amazing or S tier or anything, but it does help. And I guess I glossed over the aura. Ally defense in dungeons 42, ally defense in all battles by 34. That's a massive buff to the aura. So yeah, Blind Seer, I'm excited to dive in, and I do have one, so I'll make sure and test it for you guys. I'll get in there and start using her in Arena and 3v3 and see what we can do and see if this makes her feel a lot better. But pretty decent changes on Blind Seer. Then for Warlord, we've got Orcish Rituals. The only change is going to be the Nat cooldown from 6 to 5, and Protection of Gods looks like what they're doing here is swapping the order so he doesn't freeze himself against Torment. Yeah, so he's going to prioritize the block debuffs on all allies before the shield instead of after it. So it looks like they're just flopping the order to help with him getting the team frozen against Torments by placing the shield. For Kutraxa, we've got the only change being the A2, which is this one here, and it's going to attack one enemy with a... Okay, now it's going to be when booked, 100% chance of placing weaken for 2 turns, and also 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs as long as she has really good accuracy, and then grants an extra turn. So yeah, that'll be a really good ability. The buff strip with placing a weaken. And yeah, okay, a pretty good change to Kutraxa. I don't think it's enough to bring her into like the plat super meta, but a good change to Kutraxa. Gurgo the Augur. Looks like the change is going to be to Bone Chiller, and it's going to be removing 2 random buffs instead of removing 1 random buff. That's crazy. And then an 80%, and then everything else stays the same as long as you book him. It's a really good chance. And then that cooldown goes from 6 to 5. You could book it to 4. And then the base speed goes up from 92 to 98. Yeah, really good changes to Gurgo. He was already decent, pretty solid in the arena. This brings him in to be... This is a good change. Gurgo is going to be significantly better. Alika is an epic from the Barbarians. We're diving into an epic here randomly for some reason. Okay. But the only change is going to be to her A3 here. That is an AoE. It's going to get a massive buff to the chance of increasing the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 1 turn. And then that cooldown is going to go from 6 to 4. So now you can book her to a 3-turn cooldown on this AoE increased cooldowns ability. Okay, definitely a good buff. Don't know how great that buff is for PvP, because you can't use this first. If you go first, you won't be really doing anything because they haven't used their cooldowns yet. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good change to Alika. I mean, she's gonna be better for sure. Elder Skarg. We've got a lot of changes here. Okay, so the first one is Hunt the Marked, A2. What it's going to do is steal all the buffs from the target after the attack. That's pretty good because we got a 3-hitter that places extra hits, an HP burn, and a True Fear. That's really unreliable to get unless you've got heavy debuffing going on. But at the end, it's going to steal all buffs, which is pretty cool. I think that's a good addition to that skill. Then we've got on the A3 here, we're going to also place a Provoke on all legendary champions for 1 turn. That could be pretty cool in the arena if he goes in and uses this ability first. We place a Fear on all enemies, True Fear for 1 turn on targets under block damage, which is kind of a specialized qualifier, and then the decreased speed. And these debuffs cannot be resisted, but that's not new. So the placing Provoke debuff on legendary champions is going to be kind of cool for the later stages of Faction Wars, and definitely once you get up into Gold Arena, legendary champions are very common. So that's interesting. That'll be worth testing. Okay, then we've got the Kingslayer passive. Is going to be, they're leaving that effect the same, and then inflict damage equal to this champion's attack when attacked by legendary champions. So you'll probably get his attack in the end game somewhere around 4k. So every time he gets attacked by a legendary champion, he's going to hit them for 4k. Kind of like it's kind of like a Thorns effect. Like I remember in Diablo 2, you'd have Thorns where you get hit and it puts some of the damage back on the attackers. So that's kind of cool. I like that. I would have liked to see this passive be all allies receive 10% less damage from legendary champions. I think that would have been cool. Nerf it a little bit, but give it ally utility, and then I would think Elder Skarg it would be a lot of fun to play with. But either way, it's going to be cool to jump in and test this. Then for Candrafon, we've got a lot going on here. Okay, so the passive, I don't know why the top part right here is in green. That's what it is already, but we do get it. We're also adding a lot to this passive. Receive 40% less damage while under a veil. And then also boost champion's turn meter by 15% each time the champion receives damage while under a veil. Does not work if they are the only one alive. Okay, then we've got an active effect. Place a perfect veil on the champion for 1 turn each time an enemy's turn meter is filled and the buff cannot be removed. Yeah, that's that's a significant buff to Candrafon. Okay, and then Punish Hubris is the A1. It's going to place an extra hit if they're under any buff. See, now that's the type of qualifiers legendary champions need, not specific increase attack. So another good change there. And then on the hunt is this one. Place a perfect veil buff increase. So that's the same, but we're going to add a 30% increased speed and a 30% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns. Okay. I would have liked to see it maybe be a little bit less significant, but grant an extra turn. That would have been a cool route to go. So, okay, that passive is crazy. So, that seems like a pretty big buff to Candrafon. That passive is really cool. Definitely going to be fun to build him and test him in these situations. Then for Tormund, we're changing Tormund's passive for the 17th time. But, okay, we're going... It's going to go from a base of 15 to a base of 20% in terms of placing the freeze. But one change that's going to be made is applies up to twice per enemy turn, only once for buffs and once for turn meter fills. So they're buffing the base chance, but making it a little bit less suppressive in things that do lots of effects. So that's an alright change. And then they listed the active effect, but it looks like that is pretty much the same. So, again, with these Tormund passive changes, you really got to see it in action and feel how suppressive it is. But I'm okay with this change. Bistafist. Horror is the A1, and it's going to be a 35% chance of placing a true fear debuff for 1 turn if under block cooldowns. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's it, because he places a lot of block cooldown skills, so... that's a good change to Bistafist on the A1. I like that. Crumble is going to be now an AoE instead of 4 times at random. I've always thought that should be a change on him, so that's great. And then we're going to be adding a decreased defense, it looks like. No, that's the same. Okay. So yeah, the rest is completely unchanged, it looks like. The block cooldown skills, the decreased defense. So yeah, all they're doing here is making it an AoE, which should have happened a long time ago on Bistafist. Okay, these 2 changes are pretty good on, and I like the changes on Bistafist. And now it looks like we're going to be transitioning into some epics here. We've got Azure, Lunge is the A1, and we're going to do each hit, 30% chance to place a stun. So now we can just get an inherent chance, which is good. And then the chance increases to 100% if they're under increased speed. That's still quite the qualifier, but increased speed is very common. So yeah, that's a pretty solid A1 now. And then the A3 is going to be adding steal 50% of the turn meter if they are not under stun. On a 3-turn cooldown, not bad. I don't think it's good enough to make Azure... I mean, just my first glance, I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like Azure is going to be having a whole lot of utility in the game with these changes, but definitely could be. The stuns are very good. Stun is one of the best CC debuffs in the game, up there with True Fear. So, yeah, Azure, the changes are good. I just question if they're going to be significant enough to see him get a lot of action. Bushi, we've got Deadly Edge, which is the A2, and they're adding, place a 30% increased crit rate and a 15% increased speed buff on this champion for 3 turns. So, basically permanent, which is good. It's always critical. But then it increases crit rate for the A1, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I don't think it's gonna be super significant, but it's a buff. It's just not gonna change Bushi a whole lot, in my opinion. All right, Hexia, we've got a lot of changes here. Grave Rot is gonna be getting a buffed chance. Okay, you can't book that chance though. So 40% of decreased defense, and then it's gonna be increases by 20% instead of 10. For each debuff on this champion. So, I mean, okay, the A1 is going to be pretty reliable. Defense break, not bad. Then we've got the Soul Reap. Damage increases by 7.5% for each debuff on the champion, which can go up to 30. So, alright, okay. And then Spirit Harvest is going to be heals champion. The heal is increased by 10%. heal increases by 10% for each dead enemy. That is changing for each debuff on this champion. That's good. It synergizes with the kit a little bit better. Again, good changes, and it's buffing Hexia. I don't see this really seeing a ton of utility, though, on Hexia. Then for Pitiless One, yeah, looks like we're just getting better multipliers on him. He's always been kind of notorious for hitting extremely soft, so we don't know exactly what the multiplier buff is, but it looks like he's just going to hit a little bit harder, which is definitely needed on him because his multipliers were way too crap. Bone Keeper, an epic from the Oryx. We've got the Precision Strike is going to be deals an extra 50% instead of 35 on the crit damage. Okay. And then we've got Killing Haze is going to fill the turn meters of all allies by 15% if this attack kills an enemy. Okay, similar story to some of the other epics. It's a buff. She'll be better. I don't see it changing her role in the game in any significant way, though. Then it looks like Missionary is going to be changed from scaling off of attack to scaling with HP, which should have always been the case. So that's definitely a good change on him. In the Thick is going to be adding a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns, which is good. I don't know why it's in red. It's adding a debuff that he places. That should be in green because that's a buff. But yeah, okay, not bad. And then we've got the Humble ability here. It's going to also decrease turn meter on a 3-turn cooldown by 50%. Okay, also decreasing turn meter. That's cool. It could be good in Fire Knight, but he does have the single hit A1 on a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah, I mean, with decreasing the attack and decreasing the turn meter, he could be good in certain, big boss fights where you can decrease their turn meter, like the Fire Knight and Faction Wars bosses. So, okay. And now scaling with HP, Missionary will be more what he should have been from the start. Yotun has always been hot garbage, but it looks like at least he's going to scale off of HP now instead of attack. That should have always been the case. So, again, good job there. That's the only thing changing on the A1 and the A2. The A3 is going to hit a lot harder if they are under an HP burn debuff. And the cooldown is going to go from a nat 6 to a nat 5 that we can book to a 4, which is good. Okay. I don't think this will bring Yotun anywhere other than kind of an early game clan boss option. It's not going to change him too much in the game, but good changes. Tashada is getting a change to the A2. We're just going to be adding a chance to place the weekend increases to 100% on critical hits. So 3 times at random, and placing weekend pretty reliable on critical hits when booked on a 3-turn cooldown. Okay, not bad. And then we're going to be getting a lower cooldown on the Spirit Appeasement from 4 to 3. And it's available when an ally is dead. She can get a revive on a kill, okay? Yeah, she'll be alright in faction crypts. I don't think this is super significant, though. For Maeve, we're getting an A1 that's going to be much more reliable on placing the sleep. Okay, that's good. It went from 40 to 60 on the base there. And then the A2 is just gonna place a stun without the qualifier. Okay, that's cool on a 4-turn cooldown. We're just gonna place a stun. It's gonna be for 2 turns if they're under sleep. A 2-turn stun is pretty powerful. So, yeah, I think that's a good change to Maeve. Suai Firstborn, the A1 is going to be changing to a big defense break for 2 turns. A base chance of 50%. You can't book it or anything. Okay. Pretty good on the A1 to have the big defense break. And then we're going to be on the Utter Rampage. It's going to just deal 80% instead of the 60. So it's going to hit a little bit harder, do a little bit more damage. And then this is going to be a 75% chance. So you're going to be able to book this to 100 instead of booking it to 75. And it's going to place the weaken. So she's got the decreased defense and the weaken. And void affinity and pretty good single target damage. So she could be a good one for faction wars and targeting down bosses and things like that. And then for Taurus, the meme dream himself. Okay, so we've got the A2. It's going to be going from a 50% base to a 75%. I'm placing the weaken. I mean, okay. The Toxic Nova is going to be placing 4 poisons instead of the 3 you see here. There was already some cool things that you could do with Taurus. Shout out to Murder. I know he did a cool Fire Knight run with Taurus and was kind of trying him out in setting like world records in dungeons. So yeah, I mean, okay, it's fine. I don't think it's really gonna like bring him into like the PvP meta or anything, or change his role in the game. But some interesting changes to Taurus. Snorting Thug, the A2, is gonna steal 2 random buffs from the target when they attack him. That's pretty cool. And then the passive here has a 30% chance. You can book this up to 50 of removing a random buff from the attacker when hit. Can only occur once per hit. Counterattacks the attacker if they have no buffs. Okay, so good changes to Snorting Thug. It'll be more in line with having some of the utility you would expect from an epic champion. Then for Rowan, we've got the A1. All we got was a slight buff to the chance of heal reduction. Okay, that doesn't really change anything. Then this ability, the base chance to stun is a lot higher. That's very good. So it went from 30 to 40, which means you're gonna be able to book this to 60. 3 times at random, a 60% chance to place a stun. That's pretty cool. That's a good A2 there. I like that. And then the Blade Scourge, which places a bunch of poisons on one enemy, is gonna be increasing to 75% chance base instead of 50. And the cooldown is going to be going from 5 to 4 on the natural. So we're going to do a 3-turn cooldown. That's pretty cool. Definitely going to be good for some of those waves and then boss fights and faction wars and stuff. So yeah, and she's got an insane base speed. Again, I don't think it's too crazy or anything, but Rowan will definitely be better. And for Hope, we've got the Sequester A1. They're doubling the base chance of block buffs. That's a cool A1. I like that. Hearten is going to be increasing the shield from 15 to 25% on all allies and increasing the duration of all buffs. That's a pretty good ability now. Then Holy Storm, we're taking the Nat cooldown from 6 to 4. So we're going to be able to book this to a 3-turn cooldown AoE buff strip that we can book to 75%. Wow. This is one of the more significant changes on the epic champions. Hope's gonna move up the most of what I've seen so far, like in the tier list. These are pretty good changes. Hope's gonna be a pretty solid epic now. For Canoness, we've got a small change to the A1. That's nothing to really take note of, I don't think. And then the Blinding Assault is going to be and a leech. They're adding a leech to the one enemy. Decrease accuracy. Always critical. And then they're going to add a leech to it. Okay. Yeah, not bad. She's based on defense. She could have used a little bit of a buff to the base speed there. Okay. A little bit better, but nothing too crazy, I don't think. Uh-oh, we're back to the legendaries. Here is Norog. We've got a change to the Maul. Instead of doing accuracy, it's going to block cooldown skills on an A1. That's pretty solid. I like that. That's a good A1. That's blocking cooldown skills, okay? And then we've got a change to the passive. We're going to be, if they're under 1 or more buffs on your allies, you're going to reduce all damage taken by 15. Damage taken by all allies that are under no active buffs is going to be 25%. So a good effect for a defense arena team maybe that doesn't have any buffs yet and they go second. It's going to reduce all incoming damage by 25%. So, okay, so some fun ones to play around with there on Norog. Ooh, we've got Astrolith again. Come on, baby. What do we got on Astrolith? Attacks 1 enemy, plays 2 bombs, and can't. Alright, so the only change to Astrolith is the debuff can't be resisted. 1 enemy, 2 bombs. Okay, I don't think this is really going to do much for Astrolith, unfortunately. Then for Hawkhorn Smashlord, the Rallying Bellow. It looks like they're just changing the order of operations here. Placing the block debuffs is going to occur right after removing all debuffs. It looks like that's the only change, so that's good. That'll make the ability function a little bit better there. And the Blood Offering, he's going to be sacrificing 25% of his HP instead of 50. So this will make him a lot more reliable in more sustained defensive fights, which is what he's kind of in more often. So, okay, I'm all for the changes to Hawkhorn. Then for Bellinor, come on, here we go, here we go. Place a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns, and also applies to the Ascended skill. Okay. Perfect veil for 2 turns on the 3-turn cooldown. Alright, that's sure, okay. Then we've got the Overkill. Will also attack the enemy with the lowest HP with any surplus damage. Again, that's quite the qualifier, but okay. Tactical Partner, this looks kind of cool if paired with Zavia. It's going to activate the champion's Sword Leader skill, which is going to be the A1. So it's going to activate, which increases crit rate, but also places the Veil under the buffed version, and then also activates Zavia's Poison Rain. That's pretty cool. If it's just going to activate the... yeah, okay, so... okay. Going to be placing a lot of poisons, doing a lot of utility. I think it's going to be cool if you have both of them, which not very many people do. Otherwise, I think he's going to be better, but nothing too crazy. Then for a best, we're going to be getting a more reliable defense break on the A2, and we're going to be getting some different buffing here a little bit. So we're going to do extra crit damage if the target's attack is higher, and ignore 30% defense if target's defense is higher. That's kind of cool. So she's got some good AoE utility. Yeah, some pretty decent changes to a best. Gerp Tuck Meme Beard. What do we got here? So the Druidic Boon. Remove all debuffs except poison debuffs from an ally. This is what I said from the start. Yeah, this is what I said. Okay. I said he would be at least have a niche in the game if they just changed the A2 to remove all debuffs except poisons. Boom, there you go. Okay, great. Now we can maybe dive in and try some things with Gerp Tuck, because he's not going to be cleansing the damage bonus you're trying to get. Okay, so that should have always been there, but hey, better late than never, as they say. So, okay, Druidic Boon is going to be not ruining the utility of his kit, and then Cloud of Spores is going to be changing to 2.5% poisons instead of 5%. So being a little bit more, a little bit less devastating to the allies as well. Okay, so good changes. I don't know. I'm gonna have to dive in and test and see if this really shakes him up and makes him a lot more usable. And he was already good if you build like specific teams around his utility, the masteries, and really craft everything around and do like dragon farming and spider farming and stuff. Make a little bit of potential in the clan boss in certain comps, but yeah, okay. All in all, I like where they're going with the changes on Gerp Tuck at least. And then Dracomorph. Don't do it to my boy. Don't do it. Okay, so Dracomorph, this is the A1 that has the potential to hit just insanely hard with the surplus damage, but now the surplus damage can't be critical. I mean, it was kind of a fun mechanic in the game that I don't think, I mean, it didn't break PvP or anything. I thought it was fine, personally. I think this is kind of unnecessary, but yes, I mean, Draco was an insane champion, so it's not like nerfing him is technically the wrong move, but, you know, all right, I thought it was unnecessary, but if you're going to do it, at least this isn't too crazy. And lastly, let's get into Drexthar, who is been featured as the bizarre legendary that people can go after. So we knew he was going to get some sort of buff here. So we've got a change coming into the A2. It's going to be adding this chance increases to 100% on the provoke. If the target's under an HP burn, that makes sense. Also place a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns if the provoke debuff is placed. That won't help you in the clan boss, unfortunately, but it'll help you versus waves and in the arena and stuff. Passive, we're going to be adding this champion's resistance increases by 10 for every enemy under an HP burn debuff. Okay, so it's going to make him a little bit more sturdy. I don't think that's anything super crazy. Drexthar will be better, but I don't think this is like meta changing or anything. Then for miscellaneous down there, we've got an annoying bug that removed accessory ranks from the accessory chest preview in the bazaar will be fixed. The release of the long-awaited Doom Tower draws near, and a special teaser will be added to the game once it's there. Tap on the image to see more detailed information about the upcoming feature and its mechanics. Okay, guys, this video was crazy. There was so much to get into. I apologize for the video being long-winded, but I wanted to go through each of this stuff individually, show you the abilities in game, compare it to what's going on, and let me know your thoughts down below on this balance change. I'm gonna head over, get live on stream, and start updating my tier list and maybe shaking some things up and moving some things around based on these changes to do my best to keep that up to date. Do not forget about the gem giveaway that I'm going to be doing tomorrow live on stream. Literally, all you got to do is be a subscriber to my channel and leave a comment down below. Boom, you're entered, and you can hit 540 gems added to your account. So anyway, love you guys. I'm excited for this change to come through, and let me know what you think down below. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.